So there's a certain type of competition sport that's been around since the early 1970s. In fact, it first originated as a hobby sport in Mexico and made its way into the States around 1973. In fact, the first rifle match and the first club invented in this kind of sport was hosted in my home state of Arizona by the Tucson, Arizona Rifle Club on August 31st, 1973. Last weekend, I had the awesome opportunity down in Ben Avery, Phoenix, Arizona, to sit down with some of the national champion shooters like John Mullins and Dan Cates and discuss silhouette shooting. As new members of the North American Silhouette Shooting Association, our family is super excited to jump into this sport. In fact, it's not really well recognized in today's day and age with PRS and long range shooting being more involved and publicized. This sport is very competitive, yet it's very family oriented. You can get your young ones involved, and if you have a local range near you, more than likely there's a silhouette match waiting for you to join. It encompasses all types of firearms. For instance, if you like lever guns, there's a classification for that. If you like shooting high power 6mm BR or 6mm PPC, guess what? There's a match for that. How about small bore? You like shooting 22 long rifle or 22 bench rest? There's a classification for that. Silhouette shooting is extremely fun. In this video, I'm going to show you guys what it's all about. Welcome back to the Eagle's Nest, and I do appreciate you guys coming here and watching this video. We got a very cool subject, and we're talking about silhouette shooting today. I got the pleasure of meeting Mr. Dan Cates and John Mullins, and we're here at Ben Avery. We're going to talk about silhouette shooting, what it's all about, and this weekend we got a championship match. So, John, I appreciate coming out here and just showing us what's going on, and really want to see what silhouette shooting is all about, and what's this weekend all about, basically. What are we doing here?
Well, we're shooting the high power, state high power.
Right.
It is the toughest known shooting sport known to man.
Right.
And I'll take anybody any way they want to try to prove me any different. This is the toughest shooting sport there is.
Absolutely.
Especially when you get to the hunter rifle.
Okay.
2-pound trigger, 9-pound gun, a little bit of stock configurations.
Okay.
And, but it's a tough thing. I mean, so we're shooting chickens, which it's called a full-scale course.
Absolutely.
So they're a metal target that is 200 meters for a chicken, 300 meters for a javelina.
Okay.
The turkeys, they give you a tiny break on them. They don't go 400, they go 385 meters.
Okay.
And rams are 500 meters.
Okay.
Which, when you look at those rams up there and you're going to shoot those things offhand with a high-power rifle.
That looks pretty tough.
So
yeah.
everything that we do in silhouette, you can just about say it's farther than what you think should be shot.
I got you.
Offhand.
And
I
you gotta
don't care
remember,
what
it's
it
all
is.
shot offhand,
Right.
unsupported,
Okay.
and there's no, you can't wear gloves or coats, shooting coats, or
Yeah.
that type. Nothing you can wear to aid you
In
in,
the-
holding the firearm.
Gotcha.
Now they do allow the sport does allow vests,
We get to use a shooting vest.
but you
It's-
have to be able to run a
This
4-inch
is
pipe
this is a heavy one,
in the vest when it's zipped up.
and it's got to be loose.
Yeah.
And you're not strapped in like what they do when they shoot across the course and
Okay, so
with
it's
gloves
not-
and slings.
Gotcha.
You
That's
gotta be able to run a
So
4-inch
basically, you got
pipe.
to have a 4-inch pipe
Gotcha.
that can be run through. So it's loose, but when you get in the position, it kind of snugs up a little bit. It doesn't really give you any support.
Yeah.
But the weight of it actually kind of does this calming feeling. on
Right.
you. So
Okay.
there is a difference shooting with a vest and without it.
Okay. Perfect.
It does.
Particularly for high power, it helps with the recoil.
Yeah, you got a little bit of
You have a
cushion
pad there.
here, you know.
Yeah, and that's something me and my wife and our whole family is going to get involved in. I think high power and small bore 22 is what we're looking into.
Yeah.
So this is great that we get to show you guys what what this sport's really about. John, like I said, he's well known. Got a couple national records. So if you want to talk about something to brag about, you got it, John.
You know, as time goes on, you end up getting some national records. I've never really tried to do a long run, and a long run is how many in a row.
Yeah.
They actually have records for that. I've always thought it was kind of a dumb waste of ammunition because there's been some guys that are good shooters. Jake tied it for junior. At Ridgeway last year.
Told me, you told us on Shot
You
Show.
know, and it was pretty cool because Pedro, who said it 20 years earlier,
Right.
was there.
Okay.
It's the first time he came back, so
Okay.
they got to be there. But Jake went and ripped off, I can't remember how many chickens, but it was a bunch with high power.
22? 21.
21 chickens in a row. You know, at
Give it a
200
shot,
meters. What we're going to kind of show you, we'll probably show you high power too, but we're going to show you the small bore. It's exactly the same scale. It's called a 1/5 scale.
Okay.
So we're 40 meters, 60 meters, 78, and 100 meters. So because it's the 100 meters at the Rams, it's a 1/5 scale.
1/5 scale, gotcha.
And what that really means, this is kind of a 5 MOA game.
Okay.
So if you walk out basically at almost all of our stuff, because it's metric is meters.
Right.
But if you can shoot a 5-inch group at 100 yards, you should be able to play the game.
Then that's what a lot of people need to hear, because I think a lot of guys get intimidated by the gear race. And it seems like the sport really, even though you could have some really high-end gear, it doesn't really help you out. It's all the shooter. That's what it seems like.
It's the shooter.
Yes.
The gear, at some level, maybe the gear picks up an animal or two, but when you get to his level, it's one or two animals that are the difference between winning a national championship and not. For most shooters, we talked about this before.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of folks that CZs have taken to master.
Yeah.
Okay.
They started it with a
shoots
CZ.
A CZ 457?
Yeah, isn't it a 457 that you're shooting? Yeah, he just restocked it in a far stock is all he did.
Two different firearms for silhouette, small bore and high power. There's the hunter class and standard rifle class.
Okay.
The hunter class is, like Jake said, 8.5 pounds. Has to have a tapered barrel. The stock basically has to be a hunting style stock.
Okay.
The scope, the height of the scope from the top of the action is limited.
Okay.
I think it's an
Inch and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got an inch and a half block. It can't pass underneath the scope.
Yeah.
If it does, you're not legal.
Gotcha.
2-pound trigger.
And a 2-pound trigger.
So this is all during the match, or you have to check in? They actually test all this, or they show all this?
They put a sticker.
Gotcha.
You go through the check thing.
They check the weight and check
And they'll, like this one here was a blue sticker
Gotcha.
at that particular match. My high power's got a sticker for here, and it's actually signed
Okay.
by who
Yeah.
checked it. You know, that type of stuff.
And then for standard rifle,
Right.
it's there is no weight to the trigger, no weight limitation to the trigger as long as it's safe.
Okay.
And there's no requirement for barrel taper.
No safety.
No safety is required for standard rifle.
Okay.
And the scope can be 2 inches above the top of the action.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we could kind of go over the rifle build.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
So when I first started, I started with a $230 gun.
Okay.
It was one of those little Russian Ishmas,
Yeah,
the little trainer ones.
Yeah.
And I made it all the way to master class with the little Russian Ishma.
Really?
Yeah. And then I got a 64, which was an Anschutz with a Woodstock. Shot my first nationals with it. I even had people come up to me, and I was in Shootoffs, and they go, "We can't believe that it was for." I think I ended up 4th overall.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of interesting that guys came up and noticed, because I didn't think it was a big deal.
Right.
And the 64 is supposed to be about like the 3rd ranked Anschutz in as far as silhouette guns.
Right.
And I took the Woodstock off, put one of these carbon fiber blue stocks on, and I just painted it blue. They can be whatever color.
Okay.
But what the idea is that it's lighter.
Okay.
And the 64, it's got a bull barrel, and it actually got bigger at the end, and they had grooves for the metallic sights.
Yeah.
So I had a gunsmith friend of mine put a taper. They don't tell you how much of a taper. It's just got to be a taper from the past the chamber area down.
Okay.
And he said the last pass he did, it got rid of the final groove.
Okay. Yeah.
And I shot that pretty good for quite a while.
Yeah.
I mean, and a 64. The only reason I'd still be shooting it, there was just so many people making a big deal about, oh, you're shooting a 64. We can't believe you're doing a 64.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can kind of pick up on a lot of things. I didn't think there was that much difference. This is a 54 action. It's got the better trigger, supposedly, quicker lock time.
Okay.
And of course, we rebarrel it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we put a barrel in there. The stocks only weigh somewhere around 1.5 pounds. 2 pounds would be a heavy one of these.
Okay.
That way you can put more weight in the barrel to make it feel heavier.
Yeah, and that's what I've noticed. These barrels, I was expecting to be a little bit skinnier because of the
Yeah.
22 when you get to 8 pounds. I wasn't really too familiar with the fiberglass stocks and how light they were.
Well, yeah, they're light. I mean, the rings are light.
Yeah.
This is less than 1 pound.
Okay.
And Leopold doesn't even make it anymore.
Right.
So now you got to either pick one up when somebody passes or somebody
Yeah.
decides to sell them because there's only a limited number of them out there.
Okay.
Nobody else's. There's other things that are kind of close, and Leopold's even making a 6.5.
6.5 to
pound.
20. Yeah.
But they're heavier. Anytime you got a variable, they're heavier.
Right.
These were called a competition series. They were fixed power.
Okay.
25s and 30s were what most of us have. There's even some BR 36s that you'll find with a target dot. Almost all of us will shoot a target dot.
Okay.
I mean, you can shoot a crosshair, but it just helps with the dot. Your
Yeah,
mind
yeah,
gets
it's naturally
focused on
focused, yeah.
the dot. Jake's gun, he's just shooting. Come on, bring it over here, Jake. Show him what you got going on.
Yeah.
His gun is light. Mine is just barely making the weight
Okay.
at the 8.5. I'm pretty sure Jake's is probably about 0.5 pound lighter or more.
And then, since we're on the scopes, these are all MOA scopes. When people always ask me that, what kind of scopes you guys use, and
Yeah.
are they 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch?
They're 1/4 inch.
Okay.
I mean,
Quarter-inch clicks.
there are
Quarter-inch
some
clicks.
that are 1/8, like some of the old Tascos and stuff, but
Some of
almost
the-
all of us use.
Some of the 36 power Leopolds that people still use are 8-minute
Yeah.
clicks.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about quarter-minute clicks is you can shoot from, if you're shooting small bore, you can shoot from chickens to rams inside of one rotation of the elevation.
On your target turrets.
And if you get to 8-minute clicks, then it takes more than a rotation to get from chickens to rams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Now-
I noticed on this one you have an eye patch to cover your non-dominant.
Yeah,
eye.
and that's just a personal thing. I'm kind of like both eyes.
Yeah.
And pretty soon my left eye starts seeing the little targets.
Right.
And the right eye, so it's like a distraction.
Gotcha.
So this just helps me focus more on what's going on in the scope,
Okay.
without squinting or doing anything. Because
Right.
all the different things you can do with your left eye, usually it doesn't help you.
Right.
If you shut your left eye, it's supposed to dilate your pupil and make your right eye not as good. More strain at the end of the day. If you kind of haze it, like we do with lever gun, because we don't shoot any of this stuff with lever guns,
Yeah.
it's all iron sights. That kind of stresses your eyes out towards the end of the day. And of course, testing your ammo is pretty critical, because I'll have people, like, I get to shoot all the stuff that Lapua makes,
Yeah.
because that's part of my thing with
Yeah, you're a
Capstone.
sponsor. Capstone. Yep.
Between all the sponsors, it's pretty much Burger bullets, Vitivory powder, Lapua brass, Lapua small bore ammunition, and that's what we get sponsored with, is that type of stuff. But we'll get to go down to the test thing here in Mesa, and I'm lucky because it's right here close by.
Right. Right.
But you can send a gun to do it. But
Right.
it's so critical to test through a bunch of different lots. Like my gun's almost always like the Center X, the best. I can go to different grades,
Right.
but what happens at 50 and 100? It goes through an electronic eye at the same time.
Yep.
And when you see what the bullets do at 50 and what they do at 100, it's pretty much different. And I might get to test 15 different lots of Center X,
Okay.
and there'll be some that'll just, like, it'll go off the screen because
Yeah,
it'll
like,
just
just
the
all
gun
they fall
doesn't like
apart.
it.
So-
And then
yeah.
some that'll shoot pretty small groups. So just saying that I tried Center X and my gun didn't like it is kind of really doesn't
It's
make
very
a lot of
vague.
sense.
Yeah, it is very vague. There's a
Yeah,
lot of lot
specific.
numbers.
All the lot numbers, the lot numbers mean something. So with this stuff here, those first two is 28.
Put a
you
three
put
in
a
front
3
of it.
in front of it, that's meters per second.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And sometimes that makes a difference. But we've noticed through the years, it doesn't always mean that the 28 is what's going to test the best in my gun.
Right.
I've had some that test really slow ammo real good.
Yeah.
Sometimes faster. Faster would be like 30, maybe 31.
Yeah.
A lot of guys are liking polar biathlon.
Yeah, I noticed that. And a lot of guys are it's kind of weird seeing, coming from the PRS world, the guys are favoring the longer barrels now. Is that something you guys are kind of doing, 224-inch barrels?
We do it because of the weight.
Yeah.
You notice when I flute it, I don't flute it all the way because within
the
the
weight.
rules, I've got like extra weight out there.
Right.
And when we first started doing it, it happened by accident. The guy that fluted only had a 16-inch capability.
Okay. Yeah.
So I said, just, jam it all the way back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, now when you go to the Nationals, you'll see a lot of guns with the fluting like this now. They're starting to copy. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was looking at some of your guys' photos on Facebook and stuff, the way the barrels are set up. I did see also guys that have kind of a weird setup where it's skinny and then bows out again on the front.
Yeah, that's a Lee Contour.
Yeah, Lee Contour. Yeah.
And that's in a standard gun.
Okay.
Because obviously they can't
Can't do it in
taper
hunter, right?
all the way.
Right.
A lot of guys will call it a reverse taper, stuff
Yeah.
like that. You can actually make, when you do 10 pounds, 2 ounces,
Mm-hmm.
you can make a gun too heavy in the barrel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what'll happen is you might shoot 1 or 2 animals pretty good, but you get so tired that you actually start shaking.
Yes.
And then you
Fatigue.
start missing. So you
Right.
can go too heavy.
Gotcha.
There's a balance point, and who was it came up with this? The Germans?
Yeah.
So along with the scat machine, you find where the balance point is on your gun.
Okay.
And that right there has something to do with where you hold with your hand. And it's supposed to be like a 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches, somewhere in that area. So mine's like we're all the way to there. You take like a Woodstock
Yeah.
1712,
Mhm.
it's going to balance back here behind where the action screw's on. And there's a big difference.
There is,
Like
yeah.
I take a 1712, I'm a taller guy, and it feels like I can never hold it still. It never stops. It just
It just starts
does
wandering.
it just floats around.
Yeah.
But somebody that's shorter and smaller, that's going to feel like a bigger gun.
Okay.
Jake likes the smaller. He's got the opportunity to shoot. He's had guns made for him. He goes back to that gun
Okay.
because he shoots it the best, and it's like that's what he needs to be shooting. What you shoot the best with.
What gun feels more comfortable to you? Seems like that's
Yeah.
where you shoot the best.
Well, yeah. There's a lot of this game is between your ears.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's what works best to you, what you have confidence in,
Okay.
and that probably means as much or more than anything else once you've developed the basic skills to shoot the sport.
Okay.
ways, and that's the one thing that's like personal for you, and you've got to figure it out. Dry fires, working with the scat, the
Yeah.
scat will actually show you what hold works the best.
Okay.
What you think you're seeing when you're dry firing and stuff,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
scat will just show you
The-
what is the best, the smaller group,
Right.
scoring size, stuff like that. So
Okay.
it's kind of useful if you're just starting off, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah,
Even though
absolutely.
it costs like $1,200, you can waste $1,200 in ammunition pretty quickly. Okay, so basically, what you're going to do is you're going to take your gun.
Okay.
You're going to have it up against your shoulder.
Okay.
That's obvious. Now, this is mine. I'm about the only person that does this where I got like the 3 fingers in the back and 2
Okay.
in the front.
Mhm.
And I actually push back against trigger guard,
Okay.
which almost everybody else just lets this hand just set.
Right.
But it kind of helps me hold still if I push back
Okay.
a little bit. And I go light. I don't push my face down. Some people, you'll see their cheeks way
They're
pushed down
smashed in.
hard.
Yeah.
But I just kind of get into it kind of light, and I just kind of hold on the target, and when I'm on it, I just shoot. And now this is a 2-stage trigger
Okay.
because it's within the rules. It's about 1 pound on the front and 1.25 pounds in the back. I'm over the 2 pounds
Okay.
because I think the lever guns kind of made me that way a little bit.
Right.
I try to get all my triggers kind of somewhat the same.
All All right. If you made it this far, I wanted to say thank you very much for watching this video. As you could tell, there is a lot of information to be shared between these two guys here. And before we wrap up this video, I want to say thank you to John Mullins and Dan Cates. They are huge advocates to the silhouette shooting community, and we are very excited to jump into this sport. So as our family dives into the silhouette shooting sport, we're of course going to take you guys along with us. We're going to share our experience, what to expect on a match, what kind of gear we use, and basically just plan out how fun this sport really is. So stick around, stay tuned guys. Also, before you guys leave, if you want more information about silhouette shooting, joining a club, or perhaps where the shooting matches are located, check out the NASA silhouette.org website. This is the North American Silhouette Shooting Association, the official website, and all that information will be posted there. So check it out, stay tuned, I'll catch you guys in the next video.